Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you who are joining us from different parts of the world. I'm Leena Apishe Thomas from Global Business Inroads, and I'm currently based in Bangalore. And this is pretty much also a global webinar where we have Mr. Jonathan Genn joining us from the US. So I welcome you all today, and thank you for taking time out from your busy schedules to join us to learn more about what we are trying to do here while we try to develop a global life science platform to advance biomedical innovation worldwide. So I just want to set some rules for today's presentation and discussion. We will be putting all participants on mute during the webinar, and only the speaker you'll be only able to hear the speaker. Questions and answers will be taken at the end of the session. Participants are requested to either type their questions out, and when we open up for question and answers, please raise your hand so you could actually, we will call out your name, we will unmute you, and you could ask your question directly to the speaker you would like to address. So I think, yes, we are good to start. I'm glad we've been able to start on time, where we can stick to a schedule for all of you who've joined us on time. Thank you very much. So I'd like to, in fact, hand over to our first speaker of today, which is Mr. Jonathan Genn, who is the Executive Vice President and General Counsel of Baconti Inc. and the Global Life Science Development Corporation. And he will talk about GLDC's public-private partnership with US FDA and Montgomery County, and provide a preview of the Roundtable Forum to be held in Maryland on October 26-27. So over to you, Jonathan.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
While we're doing the global transfer of controls of the webinar, I'll just say good morning from the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Area. We welcome all of you, our friends from Europe, good afternoon, our friends from Asia, good evening, and welcome to this event from the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Area, where we're not only welcoming you, but today and tomorrow we'll be welcoming Pope Francis, who's joining us here in the Washington, D.C. area. As Leena mentioned, my name is Jonathan Genn. I'm the Executive Vice President and General Counsel for Global LifeSci Development Corporation and its affiliated companies, including some names you'll hear: the IV2 Alliance and PerConti Inc. are some of the names. PerConti is a fourth-generation privately owned business enterprise located in White Oak, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C., and wholly owned by the Homer and Martha Gadelsky family members. You will hear a little bit more about the Gadelsky family and this project, not only their experience in doing biotech clusters and community developments around the Washington metropolitan area, but also the fact that this particular project is one that really is a legacy project for the Gadelsky family and a big part of their vision. This morning, we want to talk a little bit about a preview and some background information for the Roundtable Forum that we will be holding on October 26th and 27th in Silver Spring, Maryland, which is very close to the White Oak area and where the US FDA Headquarters is. Our event will be generously hosted by our friends at United Therapeutics at their headquarters just a few miles or a few kilometers away from where the US FDA headquarters is located. So to give a little background, if you have not received an invitation to this Roundtable Forum, we'll provide a means by which you can get this invitation if you have not received it yet. But as a little bit of the background on the geography of where we're located, this is the Washington, D.C. area between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland, is located what we call our LifeSci Village. and alongside where the FDA is located. Montgomery County is a jurisdiction that joins the Washington, D.C. area. Zooming in a little bit, our location is about, I'd say 5 miles, about 8 kilometers away from the Washington, D.C. area. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration headquarters is being consolidated on approximately 660 acres that's owned by the General Services Administration of the federal government, 660 acres, about 265 hectares. Immediately adjoining and adjacent to the US FDA headquarters is what we call our LifeSci Village, our bioscience cluster that's within a community development that we're creating called Viva White Oak. You may hear that name for the entire community adjoining the US FDA headquarters. And that is approximately a 300-acre community development we're doing, which is about 120 hectares. Also alongside, you'll see reference during my presentation to Washington Adventist Hospital that is in the process of locating a new state-of-the-art hospital and health wellness facility on about 50 acres. So collectively, between the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the LifeSci Village and Washington Adventist Hospital, about 1,000 acres. Just giving a quick virtual tour of the FDA headquarters. This is the rendering of the full build out. It's mostly completed now. It's a consolidation that's happening now of the Office of the Commissioner of the FDA, the Office of Regulatory Affairs, the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, the Center for Devices and Radiological Health, the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, and the Center for Tobacco. Essentially everything within the FDA jurisdiction that's medically related. The food and cosmetic divisions of the FDA is not being consolidated on this. That's just down the road, not too far away, where the food and cosmetics are regulated. Giving a little visual of the existing development and the buildings that have been constructed on our adjoining campus of the FDA. There are over 8,000 of FDA employees at the headquarters now, with a master plan expected to be almost 8,900 by next year. Total build out for the FDA headquarters of about 6 million square feet, about 550,000 square meters of development. What makes this cluster that we're developing unique is we have a unique public-private partnership with the FDA. This is a visual of the then Commissioner Peggy Hamburg, who really was the champion of our Memorandum of Understanding that you see here. It's an official document you can see on the FDA website. She herself personally got involved in the formation of our public-private partnership with this Memorandum of Understanding, and there's a time when she personally took the stake in signing it. That's some of the FDA officials said is really unprecedented what the FDA did in its memorandum and public-private partnership with us and in entering into it. The purpose of that Memorandum of Understanding is to help advance FDA's specific initiatives, one being called Driving Biomedical Innovation, and the other Advancing Regulatory Science at the FDA, and the elements programmatically that the FDA looks to their next door neighbor, our cluster, to help them advance. We'll be privileged also to be joined at our roundtable with Dr. Vicky Seifert-Margolis as one of our speakers and forum directors on October 27th. And at the time, she was the science advisor to the commissioner, and in many ways she was an architect and engineer and designer of the Driving Biomedical Innovation. The principle that we're trying to focus on is that the FDA is seeking to in the 21st century and beyond, not just be a regulatory agent per se, but actually be proactive in what is necessary to drive the biomedical innovation. And we'll be talking about that more at our roundtable. When we say the IV2 Alliance, just giving a quick overview of what that means is the IV being the Roman numeral 4. We're looking to really be home to maybe 4 organizations, institutions, universities in 4 different categories, 3 of whom will likely be there on a permanent basis. It's sort of an embassy, an international embassy of the key stakeholders, maybe regionally, universities, researchers, specialty organizations, national and international, on a permanent basis, and then just to have space for those maybe on a temporary rotating basis. If an organization somewhere around the world on a short-term basis is doing a collaboration with the FDA, we'll have an ecosystem and an infrastructure for those participants. Some of the programs that we want to advance would be the regulatory science, the tools and procedures that the FDA has. The FDA wants to be seated at our table, and we all want to be seated alongside the FDA as we work on the kinds of innovations that need to be done in order to drive that biomedical innovation. Things like data analytics. These are things specifically mentioned in our Memorandum of Understanding. International harmonization, a big issue as well. Of course, to the extent that pre-market, the time for pre-market review for safety and efficacies might be shortened, and that puts greater emphasis on post-market surveillance. And what the FDA needs to do, as Commissioner Hamburg has said many times, the FDA will not be able to do on its own. It's going to have public-private partnerships in order for it to fulfill its mission on all these various areas. I won't read them all. You can read them yourselves. Visually, with the FDA at the center of our cluster, we have the various stakeholders in the ecosystem. Our IV2 Alliance, our good friend neighbors, Washington Adventist Hospital, bringing the very important clinical component to the ecosystem. Private industry and entrepreneurs will be part of our cluster. The media, communications, and education. Patient advocacy groups, very important in order to figure out among the stakeholders how are we going to innovate and help bring the best care to people as quickly as possible, as well as the nonprofits and foundations that are stakeholders in advancing global health. Our vision of our organization is not only to advance the federal government and FDA's initiatives, but our state and local initiatives as well. The state of Maryland has its BioMaryland 2020, a strategic plan, as well as Montgomery County and its biosciences strategies. So in many ways, we have the stars aligned of the private sector, the local government, the state government, the federal government, all looking to advance this vision of how global health will be advanced throughout the world. So we have this unique public-private partnership also with Montgomery County. This is a picture of County Executive Ike Leggett as he announced the public-private partnership that PerConti and Global LifeSci developed with Montgomery County. One of the things that's significant, this gets a little bit to who we are talking about. I'm very blessed to work for PerConti and the Homer and Martha Godelsky family, who actually have a history of being visionaries and advancing innovative uses of community building for specific purposes, including among the many, just to point out the one that is correlates to what we're talking about with the LifeSci Village, also in Montgomery County, about a generation ago, the third generation, Homer Godelsky, in a public-private partnership with Montgomery County, took some of the Godelsky land and developed what's called the Shady Grove Life Sciences. It was a catalyst about 35, 40 years ago. It was the first business park in the United States to be zoned exclusively for the bio-life sciences. The universities at Shady Grove are there. It built out with a mix of uses, including one of the last components that we did was called Treville. It's where the Human Genome Sciences, now GlaxoSmithKline headquarters, was located. And it created a biosciences cluster in an area of Montgomery County that then became a catalyst for much of the bioscience and leveraging the various assets that Montgomery County has, as you know, not only the US FDA headquarters, but also home for the National Institutes of Health and the National NIST, National Institute for Standards. The other elements just to mention. While the philanthropy of the Homer Martha Godelsky family are separate from our business, and we have a strong firewall on that, I just mentioned it in terms of the kinds of medical related passion that the family has. The University of Maryland Medical System Hospital, with a state-of-the-art facility there, as you can see, is named as the Homer Godelsky Building. A big passion of the Godelsky family. Homer Godelsky also was a big believer in creating educational opportunities and employment opportunities for all skill levels. Not everyone is going to have a PhD. We need people with technical education, so the people who know how to operate the medical equipments and things like that. So again, supporting technical education. And this is with the Montgomery College in Montgomery County, Maryland. Talking a little bit about where we're describing our particular cluster. Is the existing condition now of the LifeSci Village property and Montgomery County's property that in this public-private partnership is combined the 300 acres alongside where Washington Adventist Hospital is. Literally, the road, FDA Boulevard, goes through our property to its northeast entrance. So the plan that we have, an initial concept plan for the whole redevelopment of that area, along with where Washington Adventist Hospital is planning to locate, and we'll show some visuals of that as well. What is proposed, I apologize, I hope, all right. The proposed plan is about 12 million square feet total build out, about 1.1 million square meters. Proposed residence where it's a live, work, play, pray, and invest opportunity. The proposed residential, about 5,000 residences, and projected jobs between the direct jobs, indirect jobs, temporary jobs, about 20 to 21,000 new jobs, with a total investment in our 300-acre Viva White Oak community, about 3.2 billion US dollars. I'm freezing up here. Oh, there we go. Just giving a visual of the FDA Boulevard going through our property up to the northeast entrance gates to the FDA headquarters. On our site, we're going to have various uses. We'll have the academic and research collaboration campus where the Ivy Squared will be housed. We have needs for a full-service hotel conference center where our biosciences offices and labs and the life science village cluster would be. The amenities that will be attractive for the best and the brightest to come, so that not only the companies, but they know that their employees will want to be here, the restaurants, the shops, the entertainment venues, the public spaces, the community spaces, and the residences where people can walk to work, take their bike to work, take their electric vehicle to work, and use various alternative means of getting to and from work and home, and the lifestyle that they choose to lead. As I mentioned, Washington Adventist Hospital, part of the International Adventist Hospital system, is planning to locate alongside us, and they're hoping to get the final approvals they need through the state of Maryland in the coming months. In a nutshell, what we think this particular cluster in the United States represents is among the reasons why some have already talked to us about their interest in our LifeSci Village cluster in our Viva White Oak community, is because there are bioscience clusters all around the country from which one can choose, but there's only one US FDA in the world. And the significance of it and the unique moment in time and place where we are, and somewhat once in a century opportunity to have the consolidation of the US FDA headquarters all in one place. And as we know, no matter where around the globe the next great innovation in biomedicine and health and global health might happen, the only way to get into the US health market, there's only one way and one place to do it, and that's through the US FDA headquarters. And in many ways why people perceive that what we're creating here really is an international port of entry into the US health marketplace, as well as a way in which we can connect to the rest of the globe. When we have our pardon me, when we do have our conference and our roundtable forum next month, among the things we'll be talking about, we will have interactive breakout sessions for the various stakeholders. And if you looked at the program, we're going to have a breakout session dealing with what we call sort of an international cluster of clusters, creating this alliance. And soon Lena will go into more detail about what that means. We'll also have the stakeholders who are involved in the IV2 Alliance, university research clusters. We'll have the private industry cluster, and we'll also have the community building, the kinds of the shops and the restaurants and the hotels and the living experience within our cluster. Those will be the breakout sessions. But we want to right now, for those of you particularly around the world who are looking at this notion of an international cluster of clusters, we've already been reaching out. We've had some trade mission trips to the Pacific Rim. I've had conversations, not only with organizations, groups in China and Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and the Pacific Rim. We had our trip out to India, and where we had the good fortune of meeting with Lena at that time and the Global Business Inroads organization to develop that collaboration. I've been to Israel. We have various interested stakeholders from Europe and North and South America, Mexico, Canada, Brazil, as an example. That's it in a nutshell of what we want to just do as a sort of an appetizer, sampler, platter of what our particular cluster would be alongside the FDA headquarters, but we are simply one of what we hope to be an allied group of clusters internationally, and in this particular innovative platform that I will be happy now to turn back over to Lena. Or let's see, I will now, I think, turn it back over to Lena for her.
Hello, yes, I'm back. Thank you, Jonathan, for succinctly putting across, all the aspects of what we can expect out of the Global Life Science Development Corporation. So I'll briefly introduce myself as well. My name is Lena Pishet-Thomas. I'm director of a company called Global Business Inroads, which is based in India. The premise of setting up Global Business Inroads was really to facilitate a global technology transfer in the field of life sciences, clean tech, and information technology. I think all of you will be aware that, there is a lot of demand for, different types of technologies and innovation. There's a lot of great innovation. But what if we could really have someone manage it and manage the collaborations that come out of all of the international innovations that are happening around us? So that's the background of Global Business Inroads as a firm. And I just want to move on now to share with you the vision for creating a unique international cluster of clusters, something we've been developing for the Global Life Science Development Corporation. Really, the idea is, there is a need now to scale the international interaction of business research, in our space, and one common platform for startups, investors within the life science space to be able to interact freely, not only to interact, but also to really bring in the important component of management of these kind of collaborations. So what is the need for a global cluster of clusters? Why should we do this? I just want to illustrate by sharing a couple of interesting examples of my interaction with organizations from around the world in the last 6 months. So, for example, one of the companies that we have been talking to, who's very keen to be a part of the global cluster, is a hospital chain in India. And for them, they said that they would like to, for example, set up their hospitals in international locations. And it would be great if they could, at one point, evaluate all the different locations that there might be in the US and other parts of the world. And similarly, what they would like to give is that they have a lot of experience in developing products and solutions for emerging markets. So they would like to share with the international community their knowledge of actually designing products and life science products and solutions for emerging markets. So that's one example in terms of why we need to do this. The second one is a European life science cluster that is joining this global alliance, because as on one hand they have the expertise of setting up and managing clusters, and they want to share that with the rest of the world, offer their services, but also open up opportunities for their cluster members, and similarly invite cluster members from other parts of the world to leverage opportunities within their clusters. So that's a quick illustration of just two of the close to 30 discussions we've had in the last 5 to 6 months with different clusters and companies from around the world. Now, what this will do, and what's the main reason why we're doing this? It's really to reduce time and cost for all our internationalization operations. We spend either too much time doing international business activities, or we don't do it at all because we don't have the time and resources to do it. But this needs to be done because we may be missing investors, customers, policy support, and new markets. The point is, how can we make global initiatives easier for the public and private sector by leveraging existing ecosystems, clusters, innovation parks, business associations from around the world? So that's really, the background with which we saw, a strong need for creating something like this. And then we went on to design a very simple management procedure to actually facilitate some results and actions from a global life science platform. On one hand, yes, we're all going to have the opportunity to meet and get to know each other. But we have divided the actions of this global life science platform, in a way into the physical and the virtual world, where in the physical real world, we would actually manage the creation of collaborations. We'd facilitate opportunities for face-to-face collaboration, also manage demand and supply directly in a very, very hands-on way, and facilitate collaborations. Now, when you do this, obviously there is going to be a small team of people doing this, but we want to scale this up. And if we have to do this one-on-one all the time, this may become quite difficult. But at the same time, I'm sure everyone will want to see what kind of demand and supply is coming up from all around the world. So we decided to take this up into a 24/7 online platform that will actually support what we are doing in the physical world while we actually meet and do collaborations. Of course, all of us will know that as much as we might do in the virtual world and try to explore things on the internet, there's no replacement to face-to-face meetings, building trust, meeting people and getting things done. So having said that, this online platform will support the business and research, startups and investors to display, what they have on offer, to discover others, then to develop partnerships, and then eventually deploy their solutions in different parts of the world. And we've also taken this down to pure management tactics and put down targets that we will, as a part of these activities and working with all of you, build at least 30 B2B collaborations and 20 research collaborations. And I underline the word at least, because obviously the idea of bringing us all together is to scale and increase the pace of internationalization and global collaboration. So further on, as Jonathan was mentioning, we will be having a specific roundtable focused on the international cluster of clusters. And we have, in fact, already developed an annual plan, which we will be presenting. Of course, the reason why we are actually having this roundtable and inviting you is we'd like to personally interact with you and actually shape this annual program with your consultation. So as I said, we plan to organize activities in the physical world we would really like to check which ones of you would like to possibly host an event within their region, inviting clusters, whichever clusters want to join, or just the regional clusters around them. So we would look forward to your inputs on our annual global program, in terms of the physical meetings. And similarly, there's going to be a year-round programs which are going to happen through the Global Technology Interface platform, and where there will be webinars, there will be podcasts, there will be expert sessions, there'll be knowledge sharing sessions, which we'd like all of you to share your ideas and contribute to. So this consultation session will present the annual program. It will give you an opportunity to share inputs, and also we want to use it as the moment where we will for the first time document the collaboration needs and offers of the participants, which then we will use towards creating these global collaborations. So that's very in a very simple way, as we are trying to say, I think what we're trying to do is to simplify what otherwise seems very Herculean, because when you are a company or a cluster, there's always the problem about how do I choose which part of the world I go to? Where do I start? The emerging markets look great. The developed, the US looks great. Israel looks great. So this will be your platform to help you make that choice and prioritize where you want to go whenever you want to go. So that's what we're aiming to do. And we very much would like to collaborate with you. We are very happy to receive ideas and inputs. I've spoken to many of you personally over the last few weeks and months. I would welcome an opportunity to speak to anybody else who's joining us for the first time, who wants to learn more about how they can participate. I think many of you, of course, the great thing would be to come to the forum in Maryland on 25th, 26th. But if you cannot, remember this is going to continue for the years to come. So I would still encourage you to contact us, send me an email and set up a time, speak to us. We'd like to document what you have to offer, what you need, and then actually share it on your behalf at the round table. So we actually then start to, in a way, manage and facilitate these actions. So that's a quick, introduction from my end. I'm going to stop here and introduce to all of you our next speaker. In fact, just before that, I wanted to mention that, for GLDC, the aim is to create global nodal points in different parts of the world, create ambassadors who will drive this action, from different regions. And we're actually inviting organizations from around the world to voluntarily become, ambassadors and nodal points, because we believe that, they can then manage the interests of their organizations from their respective parts of the world. So we have had, of course, we've had interactions with many of you. All of you have, some of you have actually shared that you already want to be ambassadors of your regions. And we just wanted to illustrate by, actually sharing the example of the life science cluster that's closest home to me here in Bangalore in India, and introduce to all of you Dr. Jitendra Kumar, who is the founder, director, and head of the Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, a world-class center set up by the government of Karnataka with financial support from the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. Dr. Kumar, has also, studied in the US, and he is a keen pioneer of global collaborations. So I would hand over to him to share his thoughts in terms of representing all of the clusters out there in terms of needs for collaboration. Over to you.
Thank you, Leena, for your kind introduction. I'll take you through my slides and describe you about one of the clusters that we are building here at Bangalore, which is in Karnataka state. This state is in southern part of India. And, this is one of the clusters that is most happening in India. I'll take you through some of the innovation clusters, bioinnovation clusters in India, and then talk about the most happening cluster in Bangalore, and then talk about what are the sub clusters that we are creating through government support in a hub and spoke model. And I will also describe about how this cluster can help catalyze the company formation, the incorporate entrepreneurship and company formation, as well as exploring the markets, US markets for these startup companies in India and vice versa. So let's see what are the essential elements of bioinnovation ecosystem. So this looks like an academic exercise, but I would like to say that this is very important to point out that these six elements that I'm describing about is very much present in all of the innovation ecosystem that I will describe in India as well as in Bangalore. One is the presence of strong R&D institutions and their linkages. Then life science parks, incubators to nurture uh, SMEs. Pharma anchor companies, innovative SMEs and startups. Good common infrastructure, hospital, animal house regulation, monetary incentives, tax breaks, bank loans, seed fund, VC. Support services, companies, vendors, equipment suppliers and law firms. So this slide gives you a snapshot of bio-innovation, bio-clusters which are presently active in India. Let's start from the northern part of India, which is in Delhi, Punjab, and Haryana. There are a lot of institutions, including government of India institutions and their offices located in this region. The Delhi, New Delhi being the capital region, so it hosts a lot of institutions of strategic importance as well as international importance, which includes ICGB, which is International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Translational Health Sciences cluster has come up. There is a lot of official institutions like Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, Department of Biotechnology, Indian Council of Medical Research, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, to name few. Then coming to eastern side and little northern side of India, where we have this Lucknow cluster, which has CDRI, Center for Drug Research Institute, IITR, Central Institute of Medicinal and Aromatic Plants. So I'm not going to name all the institutions here. You can always look at this slide. But the point here I want to make is that these are the clusters which are very much happening and very much growing. Then we have this in the southern part, we have two very prominent clusters. One is in Hyderabad region, and then of course in Bangalore region. Then moving to the western part, we have Gujarat and Mumbai. So I'll be focusing more on the Bangalore region, which comes in which is one of the very happening cities in state of Karnataka, which is in southern part of India. And Bangalore hosts most of the startup companies. I would say more than half of the startup companies that are coming up in India. So let's talk about one of the flagship project of government of Karnataka, which is called Bangalore Helix Biotech Park. If you see this is coming up in around 100 acres of land, and it has all the components that are ideal for an academic for a biotech park to have. Most importantly, it has Institute of Bioinformatics and Applied Biotechnology, a foremost institution which has come up in the area of bioinformatics and biotechnology. This institution has great linkages with the Indian Institute of Sciences, National Institute of Biological Science, and many national and international institutions of repute. So that means this brings a lot of technical and scientific expertise into the biotech part. Then we have Center for Human Genetics, and this is also an institution of repute focusing on human genetics. The shaded portion here in the biotech park premises is Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, which has come up recently, and it's a endeavor or promoted by government of Karnataka, and this is around 50,000 square feet built up space, but has around 10 acres of land dedicated for different phases of growth. So what we propose here is the whole life cycle of a company that they can think of. If they are in this ecosystem, we can provide them the soft landing option in the plug and play facility, and then move to a warm shells, the cold shells, and even giving them the land space to build their own facility. So this this is a very unique opportunity that this Bangalore innovation system tries to offer to startup companies across the world. I'll describe more about Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. It is one of the best incubation system and the largest incubation center in India. And right now we have around 16 companies which have already signed up, and there is a very tough, rigorous process of selection. We had received around 30 applications, and we have shortlisted the 16 companies. And many of these companies are just, either they are in a very early stage, or they are at a different stages. But the one of the important things to note is many of these ideas have come up from academic institutions where the scientists want to spin out companies. These are some of the pictures, which is newly set up facility that you can see. There is a central instrumentation facility. There is an incubation suite. So the key features of this is it provides a crucial link between academic institutions such as I said already about IBAB and Center for Human Genetics. It's a subsidized infrastructure, so government is actually subsidizing it, for a startup companies. And even for foreign companies, they can always come and taste the waters of India before moving to a bigger locality or within the park itself. So this can provide a kind of soft landing option for this company. And therefore, to make a point here, I think this is a very important feature that we would like to explore with Global Life Science Village, where some of these companies would like to explore markets in US, and they would like to connect to the clients in Global Life Science Village, and vice versa, where some of the companies which are located in Global Life Science Village from across the world would explore Indian market. As you know, India is a great market, and there are a lot of strengths that India provides for the foreign direct investment in the country, and because of the natural resources it has, because of the heterogeneity in population. And you talk about the health issues, or the diagnostics and healthcare market. So you talk about CRAMS, the contract research and manufacturing services. So there are a lot of strong points that India offer. Then coming back to the key features, we have a central equipment facility which is open to even bigger companies if they want to use this facility. We have modular laboratories with an option of combining adjacent labs to create a bigger units. These range from 600 square feet to around 2000 square feet. We are setting up a medtech accelerator, with some of the companies abroad, in partnership with these institutions. And this is structured as a Section 8 not-for-profit company with independent autonomous governance structure. So moving from Bangalore to the adjacent regions in Karnataka. So let's start with the northern part of Karnataka, which is Bidar, where we are planning animal biotech facility or animal biotech park. Then Dharwad, where we are creating agricultural biotech park. Mangalore, where we are creating a fisheries biotech park. And Mysore, where we are creating Central Food Technology Research Institution driven food technology park. So as you all know, India provides a lot of heterogeneity as well as the diversity in natural resources. And all these parks that are coming up, not only these which I mentioned here, but across India, they are basically trying to leverage the local resources present there, and therefore that's the strength they bring to the table. These are some of the pictures that you can see for nutraceutical park and phytopharmaceutical park in Mysore, University of Agriculture Sciences, Dharwad. So this will function as a hub and spoke model, where Bangalore Bioinnovation Center would be acting as a mentor for this cluster, and in turn connect this mega cluster of clusters to the say Global Life Science Village cluster. Now the future directions which this cluster wants to play is, of course, whatever I have said is mentor for other clusters in Karnataka. We are creating also a seed fund as a debt-based fund for the startup companies, as well as the early stage venture fund from the government support, with the help of government support. We are also creating an additional infrastructure, CGMP facilities, animal house, greenhouse, technology center, library information systems, additional lab spaces like warm and cold cells, medtech accelerator, and we are also creating lot of biocluster creation with the help of Government of India called BIRAC, which is Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council. We are also very interested in creating an institutional mechanism of venture creation, through which we are creating teams around the technology that are sitting on shelf and waiting to be commercialized through entrepreneurial means. And we hold live business plan competition, which is open across the globe. And we also plan to create a coursework where live technologies and can be given to these in the coursework setting, and with the mission of creating new startups from this type of institutional mechanisms. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Jitendra Kumar, for your clear representation of your activities here in Bangalore. And, for the participants, if you look at what's been described right now, Jitendra Kumar talked about the opportunities they can leverage in the US. And in time to come, the Bangalore Bioinnovation Center will be able to select from more clusters from different parts of the world, choose, compare what makes sense for them and their companies' expansion plans, and similarly also invite companies from around the world to leverage the opportunities here in the Indian market. So thank you very much for your presentation. And now I think we are done, sharing our information. And I'd like to open the floor for questions from the participants. As I mentioned, please raise your hand and we will unmute you so that you could ask your question, and kindly direct who the question is meant for. You could also type out your question and share it with us, and I could read it on your behalf and invite the concerned speaker to respond to it. Yes, we have a question from Mr. Mittur Jagadish. Could you please ask your question? Mr. Mittur Jagadish? I think we've lost him. So anybody else with questions? I guess, we have pretty much, I think we can actually wrap up, from our end at this point, given there are no questions. But if we, as you know, I think you all have our email IDs, and I would welcome any of you to, all of you to stay in touch with us on email. If, as Jonathan mentioned, if you would like to join us at the round table and need an invitation, please drop us an email and we'd be happy to, share an invitation with you. And also, if you'd like to have a discussion with any one of us, over the next few weeks, we'd be happy to set up a call to talk to you directly, to answer any questions and, welcome you into the Global Life Science Cluster. So thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you so much.